Well, hi YouTubers, hi, I'm back with a 6 Mile City book. Let me tell you about something that happened on the 3rd of March 1943. England, it was the height of the Second World War. England was being bombed quite frequently, and this happened. Inspired by real wartime events, this is the story of one spring evening during the Blitz. No bombs fell that night. Then the surge of the shelter of Bethnal Green tube station, 173 people lost their lives. An investigation into what happened during those few fatally confused minutes begins at once, but for the survivors it will be years before truth can finally be disentangled from rumour and guilt from grief. The Report, a novel. This is such a fascinating book. Now, obviously, I'm a Londoner. Been to Bethnal Green a few times. Quite a nice area, I guess. So, a bit generic, really, like any kind of like London suburb, if you will. And then 173 people lost their lives in a few minutes, and this is trying to ascertain the reason why. The thing is, though, obviously, this is a book written, it's like, from the 1940s point of view, the dialogue itself is very restrained. It's very kind of typical 1940s dialogue, if you will. And this is how it opens, and I just love this opening. Begin with a retrospective. On an overcast evening in early March, after the weather forecast, a television special about the tragedy at Bethnal Green begins. In a sonorous voice, the narrator describes the underground shelters, the seasonally cold weather of March 1943, the psychological effects of long-term aerial bombardment. The camera pans over a series of images of wartime Bethnal Green, and several survivors speak, a man named Bill Steedman among them. His face ready from the blood pressure, he talks about receiving the babies. Greatest thing I've ever done, he says. Tried to live the rest of my life as though it meant something. Why else was I there? This is a moment where, a moment in time which its impact travels on the generations. But the thing is, trying to ascertain the reason why is a human story of a woman named Ada. Okay? This is Ada Barber's story. Chapter 5. The woman in front of Ada lost her balance and stepped back, bringing the point of her heel on top of Ada's foot. Ada's eyes hot with tears as she limped a few steps. Suddenly Emma flinched and she leaned into her. "Watch out," Ada yelled. The parts of the crowd flowed into the entrance, and just before the darkness of the stairs, we saw that Mrs. W. was in front of them. Ada couldn't believe it. How she managed to get all the way up front? What if there wasn't more room in the shelter for everyone tonight? Why was the crowd moving so slowly? Searched for a warden or a constable. Tried to lift Emma to her hip, but the crowd was too tight. She took to her hand and squeezed it, pulled Tilly to her other side and started down the steps. Imagine, obviously, tube stations were turned into shelters from air bombardment. But the thing is, tube stations, they get to where they want to go. Imagine a tube station being turned into a shelter. A place so familiar, and suddenly that place becomes a death trap due to apparently, allegedly, a broken light. People could see where they were going. Someone slipped. The rest fell after, and how so many people suffocated. This was probably one of the worst moments of human asphyxiation, if you will, up to Hillsborough. So, yeah, this is so restrained in the dialogue, and it talks about Ada, who loses Emma, her daughter, and how she kind of gets some from it. Now, I kind of follow the human story because the investigations and the inquests happen within this book. But the thing is, they cannot find the reason why. There's so much speculation. Obviously, there's a war on as well, which doesn't really help. They do not know the reason why. They are confused, they're conflicted, and there's so many different kind of sources. The thing is, it's one of these questions to what happened. You're never going to get the definitive answer. You're trying to understand. But I found the human story of Ada, who lost her daughter Emma, and surviving daughter Tilly, and a child who was left an orphan in the sad event. Here we go. This is chapter 22. I just love this because to kind of get over her grief, Ada's been going to the orphanage to kind of look at the orphan babies. And this is this bit. After the orphanage, mother and daughter suffered a reversal. Tilly lay in bed now, while Ada moved about the flat. Tilly could hear her mother's knees and ankles popping as she cleaned at night, her doll humming as she started taking care of the kitchen again, and paring the window boxes of vegetables. Rev McNeely visited. At first Tilly thought it was a condolence call, but as she listened to the conversation from her bedroom, she realized her mother had asked him to come. If I could endure anything, she said, I'm not even scared. If I died, I would miss Tilly. But I feel as though I'd have a child on the other side of the abyss, and death would just be cross now spend time with the one I haven't seen for a while. When Tilly pulled herself up to the pillow, she could still Rev McNeely's face from the doorway, beyond her mother's shoulders. She startled him, and he spilled some tea on his hand. Her mother said, quick, pinch your earlobe. It takes the heat and your ear doesn't feel it. It's just these little kind of things about British life kind of seeping into this dialogue. It's just, that was like a mundane sentence. But it says so much. A mother's wrapped with grief. She doesn't really care if her youngest dies or not. Because when she dies, her eldest actually. When she dies, she's going to cross over to see her. A little kind of superstitions, okay? If you spill your tea, you pinch your earlobe. It's that little kind of details that kind of make this, give this book life and vision. And there's this bit here. Okay? This is when they're trying to understand what's going on. And the thing is, Miss W, who I'll talk about at the beginning, this is actually who Miss W is. This is during like the investigation, okay? Here we go. She said her lane was open for a moment. Yes. How exactly? Ada swallowed. A woman fell. Yes, Laurie, investigator. I've heard that. Do you know who she was? No. Something made Laurie wait. I knew her name, Mrs. W. Mrs. W? Mrs. Wigdorowitz. We shortened it. Everyone shortened it. Mrs. W, Mrs. 4x2. What's whispered to Laurie? It's waiting for him, the rhyming slang. I see, Laurie said. She tripped, Ada said. It was awful. But I had my girls and me, so I had to keep moving. She tucked her hands beneath her legs, trying to keep warm between the wool and the wood. Perhaps you knew a little from the area. She came into our shop sometimes, but I don't make a regular practice of it. They shop around, sometimes as far as Stepney. They, the Jewish refugees. Yes. But how did they trip? That's the thing. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that this is during the war, and obviously this was hypothetically caused by a Jewish refugee. At the time, obviously, okay, I guess sentiment is, I'm not sure what the sentiment was towards refugees at the time, but it gives across this idea of, and this is obviously going with speculative media, was this intentional? Was this confused? Is what's happening? It's a very, very confusing time, obviously, being World War II. Where you don't know what's going on, and suddenly this happens, and suddenly the person who could have done it was accidentally caused it. Accidentally, she fell and accidentally caused a crush. Okay, was a Jewish refugee. Now the thing is, this Jewish refugee, Mrs. W, of course she's innocent. Okay, and she didn't. But the thing is, they're the author, Jessica Frances Kane is very, very clever about this. Because she kind of makes it clear, okay, that she keeps the sentiment flat, okay? They're not going for the emotions, they're going for the facts, if you will. It's quite clever, okay? And then it gets better. A young baby was left orphaned, and Ada decides to adopt him. After that, wherever she came to the shop, Ada tried to catch her eye to say hello. But Razor had gone back to almost being quiet, almost fugitive. There was something about her eyes, something cold and far away. Maybe this made sense given what she had been through. But it seemed to Ada that she would have tried harder. Mrs. Barton Marlowe was touching the baby's cheek. What about Justin, she said, and Ada was very surprised to see that she was crying. Did you know Justin? Miss Barton Marlowe nodded. Such a nice name. When Ada got the baby home after paying a series of fees to Mrs. Barton Marlowe, all pretending official, which she didn't understand, and which she could have afforded without the money Tilly got from the reporter. So whispering names in his ear, sure she hit on the right one or someone close. She would see some kind of recognition. She went for all the Jewish names she could think of. Didn't open the Bible, said at the beginning. Nothing. Mostly he slept. She could rouse him by tickling his feet, but then he would just bring up some milk and frown. After 3 days, Ada called Rev McNeely. He agreed to come, seen the cardboard, didn't want to name the baby. Why not? Ada asked. Mum, Tilly warned, sitting on the floor rocking the baby to sleep. Perhaps there's a male relative, he tried. Ada shook his head. Mum, Tilly said, hoping to find Rev McNeely. Do you have any boys' names picked out? We would have named a boy for your father. All three boys stared at the baby. All three stared at the baby who was nearly asleep. There's the story of Paul, McNeely offered. Ada and Tilly waited. The apostle. He was a Saul, a Jew, but when he became a Christian, changed his name to Paul. And then he fell off the house. So he fell off the horse. When Robbie came home this evening, Ada had dinner almost ready. She managed to buy a piece of fish, and not whale meat, but cod. She paused no cooking and looked dough to the lounge. Tilly was reading. Paul was asleep in the basket. Go and see your son, she said, and felt a subtle shift. Your son. Was confused Eliza, turned Eliza taken. She knew that. But he didn't have the will to resist. I don't know, I kind of love that. The fact is that Ada's actually just quite empowered woman really for the time. She's lost her one child. She's wound up adopting. The fact is, Tilly, her daughter, wound up talking to a reporter and getting money, which they used to actually get the baby. Okay? And then the husband, Robbie, comes home, is kind of like, well, go see your son. I don't know, in a way, it's kind of... It's some kind of little empowerment moment in this book. I really, really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. This book, it wasn't really heavy on the emotions. The bits I've just read out are the emotions of the book. The book is the simple facts. And the fact is 173 people died in a crash, okay, in Bethnal Green Tube Station. But it never really comes to any conclusion because after almost 100 years, there is no conclusion to come to. This book kind of gives voice, okay, but a voice to the tragedy, but at the same time it's so restrained in the tragedy. It's so compelling. It's so compelling. It's brilliant. So Jessica Frances Kane, well done for the report. Really, really good. Well, more of a novella actually. It's 230 pages, not really that long. And I really, really enjoyed it. It really kind of sets you back into the mindset of the warp times of London. So, sign off here. Sid My City Books, and bye now.